good. I mean, people know what they're getting into when they tune into this show. Like,
we messed up streaming.
We messed up.
It should be fine now.
Okay, cool.
This is all the thing. Other than that, everything should be good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Anything else happen?
Thank you.
No problem.
We are Big Dumb.
We're back.
Yeah, so we literally had the show going for 11 minutes. And we just now realized there's no sound because my mom texted me and was like, we can't hear anything. And then I look over and I realize that the mic, like, on the screen, there's like a little mic thing that goes, like, you know, when you talk, it goes up and shit. And it wasn't moving at all. And and yeah, the little thing where the mic is hooked up into was not turned on, and neither of us noticed.
The past 3 weeks, we have messed up our streams.
Yeah, I'm gonna change the description of this now because I said Aurora and Lindsay hopefully don't mess up streaming again. But no, we mess up big time.
Maybe put like a time thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a timestamp. Yeah.
So there's some 10 minutes of silence. Just to be clear, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
For so long.
Let me just put it in the title. Skip first 11 minutes.
You'll hear the moment that it comes on.
Yeah.
Shout out to the guy that helped us.
Honestly, yeah, shout out.
I feel like every week someone helps us, so shout out to those people.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who helps us on our, like, horrible journey that we're on. So, I guess, welcome to Monster Mash, the show for monsters, by monsters.
We've been going for 12 minutes.
Yeah, and the first 11 do not have any sound whatsoever. Yeah, well, basically, we're just gonna talk about murderers, Daniel LaPlante and fucking Ed Gein. I can't believe that just happened.
Time to restart.
Time for Lindsay to restart her entire thing.
I would just like to apologize to you, Aurora, because you're hearing the same thing.
No, it's fine.
But, you know.
It's fine.
Alright, so we're gonna talk about Daniel LaPlante. What if, like, a part of this did have sound somehow? And, like, I'm just repeating. This is a mess.
Whatever, this is a mess.
I'll get started. So,
also, by the way, the picture that I have up on the thumbnail is Daniel LaPlante.
Yes,
so,
back in the 80s.
Yeah, back in the 80s. This isn't him, like, now.
Yeah, he's, like, old now.
Yeah, he's old now. But this is, like...
Picture, he's, like, bald.
Yeah. This is, crime date Daniel.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways. Back to where we were when we realized there was no sound.
Okay, cool.
Well, yeah.
Not cool. Murder's
yeah.
not cool, just to be clear.
Just cool that now we have sound happening.
Yeah, Townsend, Massachusetts. Once again, I do believe that we have a lot of cases that happen from Massachusetts on this show.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to apologize for everyone that's from Massachusetts, because that sounds like that sucks, honestly.
It sounds scary.
Yeah, I'm scared of Massachusetts now.
Yeah, it's like...
Y'all got like a Thunderbird and like...
It's just real old, so I feel like there's like a lot of weird lore.
There's a lot of weird energy there.
Yeah, it's got some things going on.
Alright, so, Daniel LaPlante. I believe that like the beginning of this story starts kind of when, just in general, his childhood. So he had like a very traumatic and like abusive childhood, including like several sexual assaults, one of which was his psychiatrist, which like ended up with him not really going to another psychiatrist ever again, and his parents were like super abusive, and it was really bad. And this is like the first case I've researched that like, when I'm reading articles and stuff about it, I see in the comment section so many people that knew him commenting and saying that, like, he was the weirdest person they'd ever talked to, or, like, their interactions with him are, like, the weirdest and most uncomfortable situations they've ever found themselves in. And it's actually, like, kind of sad because, like, in these type of cases, it's, like, you know that it could have been prevented.
Yeah, like
if people just weren't awful to him growing up. And, like, obviously, there's much more than mental health to, like, murderers, but, like, it's a huge part.
Yeah, it's like a big chunk of the pie chart.
And especially with this one, because, like, it started so early on.
Yeah.
Like it started,
something could definitely have happened that prevented a lot of this.
Yeah, it started with, and not even just with him, but also with, like, the families involved. But, it started sort of when he was 13, he started becoming, like, a petty thief. Like, he would just steal, random stuff from people at school, and then I believe that kind of transformed into him stealing from actual houses. He would, like, break in and steal stuff, and then eventually it just became he wasn't really stealing stuff, he'd just break into homes and move things around so they'd get scared, and then he'd leave. Just to kind of, like, mess with them, and I'm like...
It's like a YouTube prank, it's not really a prank because it's, like, fucked up.
Because it's, like, a crime, but
it's
like...
a crime.
But it's, like, also, like, kudos, you did that, I guess.
I mean, I don't know, I don't want to say good job, that's...
Yeah, I don't want to say good job, but, like...
I mean, anyways. I do not condone... I do not condone...
just like silence while we're trying to figure out what to say.
I do not condone breaking into houses and moving things around to mess with people. For the record.
Though at least he's not stealing this time.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would you rather have? Someone break into your house and move around your shit, or have someone break into your house and steal things?
Yeah, exactly. So in 1986 is when stuff got really weird, and that's when he got the numbers of these two girls as well as the address of, like, their home. It's a family of 3, and they believe, like, people that were investigating this case, believe that he found out about this house and this family through robbing the house. Mm-hmm. But the family's name, like, the 2 girls that were his age are Annie and Jessica, and then the dad is Brian. They were the same age as him, and LaPlante wanted to take Annie on a date, and so he started texting her and was lying about his appearance to become, like, more, like, attractive to her. And, yeah, he took her on the date, but she hated it. When he showed up at her doorstep, he was a complete opposite of the description. Like, he said that he was athletic, attractive, and blonde, but he, like, isn't. Like, you can tell by the picture.
Yeah, you can see the picture. He's not, like, ugly. It's just, like, that's not...
That's, like, not your description.
Yeah, like, he completely lied about his appearance.
Yeah, like, he's definitely not blonde, too. Like,
yeah, right.
And, so they went on a date to the fair. And, it was 45 minutes long because at some point she just said, like, oh, well, my dad's making dinner and I gotta go, you know, like, some sort of excuse to get out of that situation, because he started becoming weirdly obsessed with her mother's death. She died from cancer, and he started asking questions about how she felt when she was dying and how she suffered, and it made her immediately uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's enough to make anybody be like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, like, especially when you're, like, 15 and, like, you just lost your mother.
Yeah, and then this weird kid who lied about what he looks like and is now taking you on a date.
Yeah.
Is, like, asking you about it.
Yeah, it's strange. And Annie didn't willingly see him again, but in her own words, would run into him in unexplainable ways. Probably meaning that, like, she never announced that she was going anywhere, but he would just show up there.
Yeah.
Likely implying that he stalked her.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, he probably,
stalked her, yeah.
Yeah.
That's sort of the assumption. And so one evening, Annie and Jessica wanted to contact their mother by doing a seance as kind of like a joke. Like, they were just kind of, like, coping with the fact that they lost their mother and just were trying to, like, make light of it, I guess. And, however, they would start to hear knocking on their bedroom walls as they slept, and they believed the seance worked, so they would ask it questions. And it would reply by knocking yes or no, you know, like, knock twice for yes, that kind of thing. And this continued for several evenings until they just could not sleep anymore, and they were going actually insane. Like, they would come home, and, like, their furniture would be moved, items would be missing, and, like, the home would be in, like, chaos. Like, just, like, they knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And they kind of conclude this isn't the spirit of their mother.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, this is a demon that we unleashed on the house. Not quite that, but...
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yes.
In a way,
in another way, no.
In a poetic way.
Yeah, in a poetic way, yes, that did happen, but...
So, they tried to tell the dad, Brian, so many times.
Oh, God.
And Brian believed the girls were just being emotional over the mom dying, and were just, like, going crazy.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
did
quite.
he never see the furniture, like, in different places or anything?
He just
or?
thought that, like, they were moving it.
What the fuck? That's fucked up.
And that they were, like, lying for attention.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, like, not great.
Yeah, that's not cool.
And one
Brian.
evening... Yeah, Brian. One evening, they heard the knocking in the basement, and, like, it was, like, really strong knocking, and so they both grabbed kitchen knives, right? And they go downstairs to see, written in red on the basement wall, "I'm in your room, come find me."
Bad, get out of the house.
Get out of the house, and that's what they did.
Yeah, that's that moment in the horror movie when you're like, okay, get the fuck out.
Like, this actually sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah. God, luckily they were not stupid characters in a horror movie, and they actually left.
Yeah, they left.
So that's good.
And they went to the neighbor until their dad came home from work.
Yeah.
And Brian still believed it was the daughters.
Oh my God.
He believed that they wrote that on the wall.
That's, like I get, like, oh, they're kids, they, like, do stuff to get attention, but, like, when it's to the point that your children are, like, that terrified,
Yeah,
I feel like you might at least investigate a little bit.
And it's not like they're, like, toddlers either.
Yeah,
like,
they're 15.
They're, like, around the age of 15.
Yeah. Mm.
And a few weeks later, the girls enter Annie's bedroom and find the sentence, "I'm back, find me if you can," written on her wall. And it played at the same time as last time.
Yeah.
They go to the neighbor's house, wait for Brian to come home, and Brian does not believe it. And so he goes in, and he's like, "I'm gonna prove nothing is in our house."
Mm.
And he goes in, and he finds more additional details about it that, like, the girls didn't ever mention.
Yeah.
And he finds, written on Annie's wall, "Marry me."
Mm.
And he turned around and looked in the closet,
Oh, God.
and Daniel LaPlante was wearing Annie and Jessica's dead mom's clothing, a blonde wig, makeup, and wielding a hatchet. Yes.
Not good.
Not good.
I want to say more than not good, but I just don't know what to say at that point.
Yeah, and...
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh,
Crazy.
God.
And, Brian tried to, like, attack him, to be like,
yeah.
Get out of my house, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And LaPlante escaped, but Brian did not know how. Like, it was, like, incredibly fast, and the cops came in, and they figured out that he was writing those things on the wall using ketchup. And so they were doing some investigating in the house and found that there's a crawl space that goes behind the kitchen, behind Annie's room, and goes down to the basement. And they found him hiding in the crawl space.
Oh, God.
And so for several weeks, he had been living inside of the walls of their house.
Oh.
And so he's arrested.
Yeah, for sure.
For about a year.
Wow, what
juvie.
the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess since he's, like, young, but also, why?
But, like, that's still, like, he had a hatchet. Like, he
He
was
had
probably
a
gonna
hatchet
kill Annie.
And he was living inside the walls of their home.
Yeah.
That scares me because I'm always like, I hate being alone in houses because I'm just like, I don't feel alone. I don't like this.
Yeah.
And that
same.
shit scares me so hard. Like, just the fact that, oh, hey, by the way, maybe there's someone in your walls. You don't know.
You don't know? Yeah. Yeah, so he was thrown in juvie until October 1987. And in December 1987, he broke into his neighbor's house, stole 2 pistols, and then he went into a different family's home. And this was the home of pregnant Priscilla, her husband Andrew, and their 2 kids, Abigail and William. And Andrew came home to see Priscilla laying face down on the bed, her pillows covered in blood splatter. So he shot and killed her. And then he found the 2 kids drowned in 2 different bathtubs.
Fuck.
And then he later got arrested, and he's serving 3 life sentences.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for sure. That escalated quickly.
Yeah. as soon as he gets out of juvie.
Just, like, immediately. Yeah, I mean, like, he should have been in there for so much longer.
Yeah, exactly. It was, like, a
even
year-ish.
though like, a year? A year.
Yeah,
God.
and also, like, the cops couldn't figure out how it escalated so quickly because they were like, before, when he broke into the house, he never actually hurt anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost saw him as, like, harmless, which is kind of wrong because he had the hatchet.
Yeah, right? It's like, he had a weapon, for sure.
But he didn't attack Brian, so that's why, like, they were like, oh, he's not, like, actually killing anyone.
Yeah.
But, they were kind of like, what happened in between this time frame to, like, cause him to just go, because he had no relation to these people. But, I don't know, I think that there was something where, like, maybe he thought that, like, the neighbors were the reason why the cops showed up at the other house, or...
Yeah. Like, it's just so weird because, like, there were no signs, like, even when he was breaking into, like, places and just moving shit around, like, that's not violent.
But it's, like...
It's fucked up, but it's, like, it's not, like, you didn't go in and, like, have a weapon and wait for people.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, like, that's so weird how it just escalated, like...
Yeah, because
like,
I don't think that he got, like, charged with, like, attempted, assault or anything.
Yeah.
Whenever he was hiding in the house, because they didn't know...
Like, his intentions.
They didn't know his intentions, but, like, with the hatchet being there, like, it changes stuff. But
like, it's not
just
good
thought,
intentions.
Yeah, like, they know it's not good intentions, and, like, what they thought was that either he was going to pretend to be the mom, which wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, that's...
Or would have, like, sort of, like, revealed himself, you know, like, been like, I'm not your mother, in the walls to them, and then, like, attack them. But, like...
Yeah. God, I'm just like, why wear the mother's clothes? Like, just why?
Yeah, he, like, it was his weird obsession with, like, the mom. It was just so weird. He clearly had, like, a weird obsession with, like, death.
Yeah.
Itself. So, I'm wondering if, like, he was trying, like, there was another thing that was, like, where they're trying to figure out if he was just trying to really scare them.
Yeah.
Because he liked to torment stuff, yeah. He liked to torment people. So that's kind of the gist of that. Not a great case.
Yeah, not a fun one.
The two kids I keep thinking about. It was like, they think that he killed the pregnant mother first. Mm-hmm. And then drowned the two kids. Yeah. Which is... Oof.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's heavy. Ugh.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was so expecting Annie and Jessica to die, but they're fine.
Yeah, right? Like, it feels like...
I think that they were kind of smart in the situation, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like, other than the fact that they start talking to him.
Yeah, I mean...
But I also feel like when you're 15, make bad decisions.
You know, when you're 15, you don't know. Like...
Yeah, you don't know. So, especially in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, for sure. In the 80s, it wasn't as, like...
Yeah.
I mean, there was, like, still, you know, don't talk to strangers and stuff, but it's not, like, now I feel like it's a bit more extreme because we know about all this stuff that happens.
Yeah, I think he was, like... Yeah, because it's the 80s. I think that he would, like, call them, and I feel like there's something about a voice that's more trustworthy than, like, over text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, now time to talk about another awful person. So this is Ed Gein, if you can see the thumbnail thing. I think it changed, so we're good. But,
I like how people can see how you adjust it.
Yeah, right? Like, you can see me mess up and try to adjust the photos. Yeah, but Ed Gein, also known as the Butcher of Plainsfield. Oof.
I already hate that name.
Yeah, the Butcher of Plainfield. He was a murderer and a body snatcher, which means that he would go to graveyards and, like, dig up corpses.
Oh, I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Body snatcher. Yeah, it sounds like he's, like, a weird monster, but, like, no, well, he is, but you know what I mean.
You know, like, something under your bed, like...
Yeah. So, this all went down in Wisconsin. LaCrosse. He was born in La Crosse County, Wisconsin, in 1906, and his mother, Augusta, despised her husband, who was an alcoholic and who couldn't take a job or keep a job. And they ended up moving to the town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, which became their like permanent residence. The mother took advantage of the farm's isolation by turning away people who could have like influenced her sons in any way. Like, she wouldn't let them see anybody. Like, she would isolate them. So Ed left the farm only to attend school, and outside of school, he spent most of his time on the farm, like, doing chores. And his mother was very religious, which, you know, and she, I'm sorry, but she, like, preached to her sons about, like, how the world was so immoral, and how her belief that all women, except herself, were naturally prostitutes and instruments of the devil.
Oh, no.
So she instilled a good hatred of women very early on.
I was wondering why you were grimacing, and then I was
Yeah,
like, oh.
because, yeah, that's, like, never a good thing, because, like, a lot of murderers, like, who do stuff like, I'll get into it, but like Ed Gein did, it's like they have a deep, like, they despise women, and it's usually from, like, their mother figure.
Oh, God, we have both cases very
Yeah, where
influenced
there's,
by
like,
childhood.
abuse early on, yeah. So basically the mother reserved time every afternoon to read to them from the Bible, usually selecting graphic verses from the Old Testament concerning death, murder, and divine retribution. And people said that Ed was shy. They remember him having really strange mannerisms, like seemingly random laughter, as if he were laughing at his own personal jokes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
no.
to make matters even worse, his mother punished him whenever he tried to make friends.
What?
Yeah, so he had poor social development. He already had this idea that women were all bad. That his mother was, like, the only, like, woman in the world who was, like, who was good. And she abused him.
Oh my
So
God.
that's a good mental potpourri, if you will. Oof, it's not good.
Oh, no.
Like, in his immediate family, his father died in 1940, so Ed would have been, in his 30s. And, he died of heart failure caused by his alcoholism. And at that point, Edward and his brother began taking, like, odd jobs around town just to help cover the cost of living. They were generally considered reliable and honest by other residents of the community. Ed frequently babysat for neighbors. He enjoyed babysitting and seemed to relate more easily to children than adults.
Oh, no. This is, like, going worse and worse.
Yeah, it's just like, oof. So, here's where shit starts to get murdery in his life. So, May 16th, 1944, Henry, which is Edward's brother, they were burning away vegetation on the property, and the fire got out of control. It drew the attention of the local fire department. And by the end of the day, when the fires were all extinguished, Ed reported his brother as missing. And a search party searched for his brother, and they found his dead body lying face down, and he had been dead for some time, and it was apparent that, like, the cause of death was heart failure, because he hadn't been burned or otherwise injured. And it was later reported that the brother, who was found dead, had bruises on his head. But the police dismissed the possibility of foul play, and the county coroner later officially listed asphyxiation as the cause of death.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so the authorities basically just accepted this, like, accident theory, and no official investigation was ever done, and there was no autopsy. And most people, rightfully so, suspected that Edward had killed his brother. And when they questioned him about the death, when they, like, questioned him about another, like, later murder, the investigator brought up questions about Henry's death, And he wrote in that it was possible and likely that Henry's death was, like, the start of all of this.
This is Texas, right?
No, this is Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
However, he is part of the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw
Okay,
Massacre.
that's why I thought it was Texas.
Yeah.
I was about to say, just go to Texas if you want to kill anyone.
Yeah, no, this isn't. This is not Texas. This is Wisconsin.
Though I gotta say, like, all of the murder cases we do are in, like, those weird
like
states.
northern, yeah, like
Like, kind of like the obscure states.
Yeah, I feel like Wisconsin is also where fucking Making a Murderer took place. All that.
Oh,
stuff. Yeah. So Wisconsin, not gonna move there anytime soon. So anyways, back to Ed Gein here. So after Henry died, Gein and his mother were alone, and his mother was now, like, I think she was pretty much, like, I don't know words. She had a paralyzing stroke shortly after the brother's death, so she couldn't do anything for herself. So Gein devoted all of his time to taking care of her. And according to Gein, Augusta witnessed a man beating a dog, and a woman inside the man's home came outside and yelled at the man to stop beating the dog, and Augusta was extremely upset. However, what bothered her did not appear to be the brutality towards the dog, but rather the presence of the woman.
What?
Yeah.
No.
And
The dog.
the mother told Ed that the woman was not married to Smith, so had no business being there. Smith was the man who was beating the dog. And she said that she had no business being there. Smith's harlot, the mother called her, which if you don't know what a harlot is, it's just like a whore. And then she had a second stroke. The mother had a second stroke soon afterwards, and then her health deteriorated rapidly. And she died in 1945, and obviously Ed was devastated by her death. And he said he had lost his friend and one true love, and was absolutely alone in the world.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just what I've been saying this episode. Oh, no.
Yeah, this is a oh no.
Because this is
episode.
like one of those things where you see it happen over
Yeah,
time.
like you can, when you go look in the early life section of their Wikipedia, you're like, oof.
I'm just thinking about that dog.
Yeah, right? It doesn't say anything else about the dog, but
What a good boy.
yeah, that
I'm
poor
so
dog.
sorry.
And the fucking mother was
R.I.P.
like,
dog.
yeah, spam F for respect.
Spam F for the dog, please. If I don't see at least one F, I'll be really upset.
So, on the morning of November 16th, 1957, Plainfield hardware store owner Bernice Warden disappeared. A Plainfield resident reported that the hardware store's truck had been driven out from the rear of the building at around 9:30 a.m. The hardware store was closed the entire day. Some area residents believed that it was because it was deer hunting season. And Bernice Warden's son, who was actually the deputy sheriff, entered the store around 5 p.m. to find the cash register open and bloodstains on the floor. The deputy sheriff told investigators that Ed Gein had been in the store the evening before his mother's disappearance, and that he would return the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. And a sales slip for a gallon of antifreeze was the last receipt written by Warden on the morning she disappeared.
If you can hear my sharp inhales as this is happening.
On the evening of the same day, Gein was arrested in West Plainfield in a grocery store, and the county sheriff department searched Gein's farm. And another sheriff deputy from the county, not the son of Bernice Warden, discovered the decapitated body of Bernice in a shed on Gein's property, hung upside down by her legs, with a crossbar at her ankles and ropes at her wrist. The torso was dressed out like a deer, which, if you don't know what that means, it means, like, when you skin an animal after you've, like, hunted and killed it. It means, like, you hang them up and you skin them. So she had been dressed out like a deer. She had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and the mutilations were all made after her death because there were mutilations on her body. And when they searched the house, authorities found, hold on to your fucking horses, people, whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chair seats, skulls on his bedposts, female skulls, some with the tops sawn off, bowls made from human skulls, a corset made from a female torso that was skinned from shoulder to waist, leggings made from human leg skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag. Mary Hogan is another victim. Mary Hogan's skull in a box, Bernice Warden's entire head in a burlap sack, Bernice Warden's heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's pot-bellied stove, 9 vulvas in a shoebox, a young girl's dress, and the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring, a lampshade made from the skin of a human face, and fingernails from female fingers. Just take a moment to let that sink in.
My jaw dropped.
I was looking at Lindsay's face just to see what would happen. Yeah, like, there's not even much to say about that. Like, I don't know what you say to that. Like, imagine finding that, though. Imagine being one of the people to go in this house, and you think, we're probably just gonna find the body of Bernice Warden. You find her body strung up like an animal, and you find all of that shit that I just mentioned that I don't want to go back over. However, I will say, if you don't know what a vulva is, Google it. I don't want to get into that. That's too much. So here's the rest of the investigation. Jesus Christ. All of the artifacts were photographed at the scene of the crime, and you can actually find the pictures online, and I've seen them, and they're intense. I would not recommend looking them up if you're like me and you're a big crybaby, cause oof. But they all, like, since then, all of these artifacts have been destroyed. Like when that happened, when they found them, they photographed them, documented them, and destroyed them. Which I don't, God. I don't see any other option there. Like, if you keep them, it's like it's fucked up.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, right? You knew it was gonna get bad, but you didn't know it was gonna get this bad. I thought you said Volvo. I wish. Honestly, Tim, I wish I had said a Volvo, like a car, but no.
He just had a lot of Volvos.
He just had a lot of cars. I wish. Oh, God, I would make this so much better, but it's not. It's worse. It's the worst. And when questioned, Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he made as many as 40 nocturnal visits to 3 local graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies when he was in a, quote, dazed-like state. On about 30 of those visits, he said that when he came out of the cemetery, he left the grave in good order and returned home empty-handed. On other occasions, he dug up the graves of recently buried middle-aged women he thought resembled his mother and took the bodies home where he tanned their skins to make all of his, paraphernalia. And Gein admitted to stealing from 9 graves from local cemeteries and led investigators to those locations. And they ended up opening 3 test graves that were identified by Gein to make sure he wasn't lying. And the caskets were inside wooden boxes. The top boards ran crossways, not lengthwise, so width. The tops of all of the boxes were about 2 feet below the surface. And Gein had robbed the graves soon after the funerals while the graves weren't completed yet, so it would be easier for him to get to them. And the reason why the test graves were exhumed is because they weren't sure if Gein would have been capable of single-handedly digging up a grave during a single evening, because, if you look at his picture, he's, pretty, thin, so they just weren't sure if he would have been able to carry that out by himself.
Yeah.
And when they dug up the test graves, they were found exactly as described. 2 of them were found completely empty, one of which had a crowbar in place of a body. And one casket Gein had failed to open when he lost his crowbar, and most of the body was gone from it, though. So he still managed to open it. And Gein had returned some rings and some body parts, which corroborated his confession. And basically, soon after his mother's death, of course that's when all this started, Gein began to create a woman suit so that he could become his mother to literally crawl into her skin. That's a quote from him. And Gein denied having sex with the bodies he exhumed, explaining, "They smelled too bad."
Okay.
They smelled too bad is his one thing that he was like, not that's too much for me.
So that's kind of interesting. Like, did they ask him if he had sex with
They,
them?
yeah,
Okay.
because they suspected necrophilia.
Okay, because I was thinking...
He didn't just say
He
it,
just
yeah.
was like, I didn't have sex with the bodies, by the way.
No, they questioned him. And during the state crime laboratory interrogation, Gein also admitted to the shooting death of Mary Hogan, who was a tavern owner who had been missing since 1954. And like I listed earlier, her head was found in his house. So, yeah. He later actually denied memory details of her death, like memory of any details surrounding her death, which is bullshit probably. He was probably just trying to, like, be like, no, I don't remember anything. Even though it's like, fucking dude, you killed her. Like,
Yeah.
Sir, we literally found the only trace left of this woman in your home. Like,
Yeah.
oh, God. So, a 16-year-old youth whose parents were friends of Gein, it doesn't say any gender, whose parents were friends of Gein, and who attended ball games and movies with him, reported that Gein kept shrunken heads in his house, which Gein had described as relics from the Philippines, sent by a cousin who had served on the islands during World War II. And upon investigation by police, these were determined to be human facial skins, carefully peeled from corpses and used by Gein as masks. So, like, that's how he explained it away to people.
Ew.
The skins. He was like, oh, yeah, they're just gifts from my cousin. Like, they're shrunken heads. Which...
Oh.
And,
I don't like that.
So, I also said earlier that they found remnants from 2 15-year-old girls. So that means that Gein was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases, obviously because there were so many body parts at his house that it's like, this couldn't have come from just like a few graves.
Yeah.
And they were different people. So he was, oh God, he was involved in a case from 1953, which is the disappearance of Evelyn Hartley, who was a babysitter in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is where Gein was born, and it was near Plainsfield. And during questioning, the sheriff reportedly assaulted Gein by banging his head and face into a brick wall, and as a result, the initial confession was ruled unadmissible. So basically, I mean, like, it's fucked up. Like, you can't like assault fucking witnesses or like perpetrate because like it could be coercion. So that's fucked. Like, cause he confessed, and then the sheriff like beat him after he confessed, and it was therefore ruled unadmissible. Which, like, come on, like, ugh.
Oh my God.
I hate police in these cases because it's like, if you just didn't hit him in the head, you could have had this as evidence and been like,
just wait till he's in prison.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, and shortly afterwards, the sheriff who assaulted Gein died, and like many of the people who were close to the sheriff said that he was traumatized by the horror of Gein's crimes, and this, along with the fear of having to testify, caused his death. And one of his friends even said, he was a victim of Ed Gein as surely as if he had butchered him. Yeah. And now into, like, the trial. On November 21st, 1957, Gein was arraigned on one count of first-degree murder, where he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent, thus unfit for trial. And he was sent to a state, hospital for the criminally insane, and it was a maximum security facility, all that jazz. In 1968, doctors determined that Gein was mentally able to confer with counsel and participate in his defense, and the trial officially began November 7th, 1968, and it lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that if Gein had told him that he did not know whether the killing of Bernice Worden was intentional or accidental. So, he told him that he wasn't sure if it was intentional or accidental, which,
I feel like... Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Come
Gein
on.
told him that while he examined a gun in Warden's store, the gun went off, killing Warden. And he said that he didn't remember anything else that happened. Which, bullshit. I'm just gonna call the bullshit card right now. He literally testified, or he admitted to the crime earlier in this case, and now he's like,
Yeah.
nah, it was an accident. I just picked up a gun and it went off and shot her. Whoopsie-daisy. That doesn't, even if that's what happened, it doesn't explain taking her body back to your farm, stringing her up like a deer, skinning her, decapitating her. No. You don't understand. That doesn't cover, over half of what happened.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, yeah, it was an accident, and then, chop up her body, or, mutilate it.
Yeah.
In your shed. As well as have, all that crap in your house.
Yeah,
Nah, dude.
So, basically, what ended up happening to him, it, went back and forth from him being ruled as, not mentally stable enough to be charged and mentally stable enough. It, the whole case was just, it flipped back and forth. And he ended up spending the rest of his life in a mental hospital. So, I don't agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with that, but at least he wasn't out in public able to do the shit again. At least they realized that he was dangerous enough to, not be in public or, not be around other people. He ended up dying due to respiratory failure, secondary to lung cancer, which, I don't know if that's any consolation. It's not. Over the years, souvenir seekers chipped pieces from his gravestone in Plainsfield Cemetery until the stone itself was stolen in 2000. So people, would go and take pieces of his tombstone.
That's kind of funny, because it's he would steal from graves.
Yeah, and now, actually, I think so the stone was recovered in 2001, and it was placed in storage in, the sheriff's department, so I guess they still have it. And the gravesite itself is now unmarked, but not unknown, which means people found that shit. And, he is buried between his parents and brother, which is, that makes me mad, because it can't be said for his victims.
Yeah.
They don't get that luxury of,
Yeah.
even being able to be buried with their family, because he fucking butchered them.
Yeah.
But if you haven't noticed, this whole, case has had a very long-lasting effect on American culture.
Yeah.
Because, it came to public attention when it was, kind of fictionalized in the novel Psycho, in addition to the film Psycho.
Yeah.
The story was adapted into, a number of films, including Deranged, In the Light of the Moon, Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses and the Devil's Rejects. He also served as inspiration for, a bunch of characters themselves. So, Leatherface. he was the direct inspiration for Leatherface, obviously, the whole human mask thing.
Yeah.
Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill, and the inspiration for a character from American Horror Story. Yeah. There's a lot of other stuff like that he influenced culture-wise. He news reports of his crimes spawned a subgenre of black humor, which I don't know what the fuck that means. He's also the inspiration for my favorite Slayer song, Dead Skin Mask. It's a good song. Listen to it. It won't make you as depressed as this episode probably will.
Yeah, I'm so depressed right now.
Yeah, it's a heavy story to talk about because it's just so like murder is bad enough, but like there's just something about having the having the audacity to be able to chop up someone's body who you have either murdered or exhumed and like make shit out of their skin and out of their fucking body parts, like especially another thing that makes me really sad is that they never figured out anything else about the two 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Because like it's pretty obvious that the babysitter he killed, like I mean that's like a given. Like he killed that girl. I was about to say woman. She was not a woman, she was a child. He killed her for sure. And then the other 15-year-old girl like is just like unknown because there were so many unsolved cases that he could have been linked to. And like we're never going to know. Like and now all of that evidence is destroyed. So that's partially why I don't fully agree with destroying all of the paraphernalia that he had because now that we have like DNA, you can't test any of it and see like find the victims because I feel like that would be a real like it wouldn't make up for any of it at all, but it'd be like a nice like sentiment to be like we finally found who these victims are.
Yeah.
But you know that's not gonna happen.
Just for like closure for like living.
Yeah,
descendants
honestly.
And stuff, you know.
Yeah, just to be like this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because I mean everybody knows, not everybody, but most people know who Ed Gein is, but they don't know any of the victims.
Yeah.
Which is fucked.
And that's sadly how it is with a lot of serial killers.
Yeah, it's like you know Zodiac killer and you know all of that stuff, but you don't know
anything.
Yeah, you don't know anything about the people who they actually killed, or like Ted Bundy and shit like that. It's like you don't know any of the women or man who whatever. Like
Okay. Do you wanna talk about video games?
Yeah, we have a few minutes left to talk about things that aren't as awful and depressing. Video game. Yeah, so by the way, if you haven't tuned in for the last few episodes, me and Lindsay have been near like the last maybe 10 minutes of the episode, we start to talk about like video games or whatever, just to like lighten the mood a bit, especially after things like this where it's like
it was
really
two
sad.
heavy things.
Yeah, it was two really heavy things. So we just want to like lighten the mood a bit, remind everyone that life isn't all horrible.
Yeah, you know what
like,
isn't so bad now that I think about it? Paying off your loans in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, pay off your Animal Crossing loans. That's a good feeling.
The island music in Animal Crossing.
Oh my god, yes.
The nighttime.
I'm gonna get rid of Ed Gein's face on this thing because I can't look at it anymore.
Let's just put a picture of Isabel from Animal Crossing.
Yeah, hell yeah, okay.
Just for the last, like,
yeah, I'll put a
minute.
picture of Isabel from Animal Crossing because holy shit.
This was...
Also, my grandma is listening to... Hi, Grandma. This is really sad. I'm sorry.
Hi, Aurora's grandma. I'm Lindsay.
Yeah. Let me find a picture of Isabel from Animal Crossing. I don't know.
Quick.
Animal Crossing. Come here, girl.
Come here, girl. Lighten the mood.
She's so cute. This
Just pick one.
Save it. Oh god. Oh my god. Yeah, oof. This was a lot.
What is your favorite Animal Crossing animal?
I wish they were bats. Because that would for sure be my
that would be
jam.
so cute.
Yeah, can you imagine
I
a
really like
bat?
Bam. Bam is like the
yeah.
little deer, I think. I think he's
Yeah.
a deer. And he talks about punching stuff a lot, and I appreciate that.
All of
Isabel
my-
has entered the chat room.
Isabel.
She is Mothman.
Oh, fuck.
at her. She's become Mothman.
Isabel is become Mothman.
Yeah. I really appreciate her.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave that there. Oh man.
She's in the corner and she moves.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my god.
I don't want to leave it at such a depressing note. I don't want to leave this. Last time we took a test where we found out what cryptids we were, and I ended up being a lava monster, and Lindsay ended up being like a water lizard thing. Ooh, hell yeah. Yeah, so that's been tonight's Monster Mash.
Next episode we'll do something.
We'll do something way less depressing.
Well, yeah, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah, this is gonna be like a once a month thing where we talk about murders. Cause this shit is sad.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. See you next time. Have a good weekend.